Up, y'all? It's BBG. I'd love you to spend the next 5-10 minutes with me. I want to dissect something for you as it relates to the success of your coaching business that is not a tactic or a strategy related to growing or scaling your coaching business, okay? If this is you, you have paid for masterminds, you have paid for coaching programs, you've paid for coaches, you've invested money, time, and energy into your coaching business, but your return has not been great, meaning you're not really getting more clients. And if you are, it's not sustainable. You're not scaling the way you thought you would or the way you wish you would. I want to explain why. I want to explain why so that you have a broader understanding of what's holding you back, as opposed to what more you need in order to finally have the sustainably successful coaching business you've always wanted. Okay, so let me share my screen and take you through this presentation. Now, stay with me, okay? Because as I mentioned, this is not tactics and strategies. I'm not talking about marketing. I'm not talking about scaling a business. I'm talking about things like stress and resilience. This is going to be a look into neuroscience and the practicality of neuroscience related to why you're holding yourself back. And this is critical because for 30 years, I've been in this space. And for 30 years, I've mentored thousands of coaching professionals around the world. And I am sick, as sick could possibly be, of watching the next tactic and strategy be pumped into your face. Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Facebook groups, how to make $30,000 in 30 days. I'm sick of it because it's not working for you and you know it's not working for you. So let's talk about why. Let's talk about why. It's not so much you need an accelerator to grow your business. You need to take the handbrake off of yourself so that your business can grow and scale naturally. And that's the problem. Okay? So stress and resilience. Let's look at this. Now, your brain's number one job, and it knows its job. Your brain's number one job is your survival. Okay? Your survival is your brain's most important priority. It prioritizes that above everything else. So when you go into what's called neural threat, you have a high accumulation of stress, no matter what the causative factor is, your brain kicks into survival mode. And we're not going to go into the physiology, the biology, or even the neurology today of what happens at those markers. We just have to frame this to understand that your brain's number one job is your survival. Now, here is something that most people don't know. Because when we think about the word survival, we think about life or death. We think about, life-altering situations. But believe it or not, your brain and what you think consciously define survival are two different things. Because, and this is where people don't recognize how much neurology plays a role in business success. What the brain depicts as the most threatening thing you can go through that cascades your brain into survival mode is change. That's it, change. So moving to a new state or getting a new job or getting an influx. Here's a great example. Topic related. You know those, I'll teach you how to get 700 new leads in a month? You know those programs? Okay. Can we just have a real conversation? Do you realize that if you got 700 new leads tomorrow, given the infrastructure of your business right now and how it operates, 700 new leads would bury you. That would not be a good thing. It would bury you. And your brain would perceive that as a massive change. And it would go into survival mode. So no matter how big or small the change is, whether we can define the change as good or bad, it doesn't matter. Your brain likes homeostasis and it fights to keep you there. That's operative. What I just said matters. Your brain fights for the normalcy that it knows. So even if it's good change, it'll send your brain into survival mode. Now, why does that matter? Well, look, you guys all know the anatomy of the brain. The amygdala sits roughly in the middle of your brain. It's responsible for emotion, irrationality of emotion. Whereas the prefrontal cortex sits in the front of your brain and it's responsible for logic and rationality and problem solving. But when you go through a change of any kind, good or bad, your brain discerns that as dangerous, not normal. So it goes into survival mode. And a lot of what happens at that survival mode plateau is your prefrontal cortex starts to turn down and your amygdala starts to turn up, which means you're cascading in through emotional irrationality a lot more than you are logic and solving problems. Now, this is where most business coaching and even the self-help charade isn't helpful, because all business coaches seem to want to do is pump tactic after tactic, strategy after strategy, new fandango, whatever, after new fandango. They just want to pump that at you. How to make $30,000 in 30 days. How to get 750 new leads tomorrow. Like, that's all business coaches seem interested in. But that's not how you build the foundation of a sustainably successful coaching business. It's not how you build the foundation of any business. And the self-help charade is no different. And I say that with deference. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the self-help industry has just become this nauseating thing where everyone's basically saying the same thing on a regular basis. And a lot of people I know personally read all the books, go to all the seminars, watch all the webinars, but it's just not clicking. Like, they can recite what the self-help gurus say by memory, but it's not clicking. It's not becoming practical. And I swear it's either business coaches and self-help gurus don't know, or they don't want to know what your brain is actually going through, and therefore what you're going through when you're trying to grow a sustainably successful coaching business. Because in reality, when you go through any change, and that includes growing a business, which is good, but it's change. So your brain pumps itself into survival mode and really stimulates the amygdala, which creates an abundance of emotional irrationality. These are the three things you go through. We all do. It's not specific to me. It's universal to all of us. When we go into amygdala overactivity, when we go through change and our brain is in survival mode, even good change, 700 new leads tomorrow, these are the three things we experience. We experience loss, distrust, and discomfort. Now, if that doesn't seem like it harmonizes with building a sustainably successful coaching business, well, let's make it more practical. As your business grows, you start to worry about the loss of free time. And tell me that's not true. As your business grows, you start getting busier. As you get busier, you kind of miss the good old days where you can go and grab a Starbucks at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because you had nothing else going on. And I've experienced all these. Every entrepreneur does. You don't realize it, you don't categorize it as loss, but that's the way your brain categorizes it. And of course, the more successful you get, you actually start to worry about the loss of friends and relatives. If you get too big, too much income, too rich, whatever it might be, maybe your friends are going to look at you badly, or your relatives are going to turn their back. These are things we think about. These are things we experience. That really parlays into identity. I've always been this guy, but now I'm getting 700 new leads a month. And I'm making $30,000 every 30 days. Who am I? Who am I? Because when I was struggling to build a coaching business, at least I knew who I was. And my friends were just like me, so they didn't think badly of me, and I had all the free time in the world. And I kind of miss that now. Well, we also experience distrust. Is this real or possible? Like, truly. I know the names of some really big time coaches who have made it big, but like, can I do that? we start to distrust ourselves. We start to distrust the process. And the more our business grows and scales, we feel a whole responsibility. Because now it's not just me and like 6 clients, it's me and 66 clients. And I've got, team members that include other coaches, maybe an administrative assistant or a VA. I'm responsible for all these people. They eat because I've given them a job. Am I able to keep this going? And we worry about ourselves changing. We worry that we're not going to be the same person. That $30,000 a month is going to become $60,000 a month. That can become $90,000 a month. Am I going to still be the guy I know? Am I going to change? These are the things we start to fret about. Now, maybe you're conscious, like maybe I'm just throwing darts and you're like, oh my God, he's talking to me. And maybe they're not even part of your conscious consideration. But I'm telling you, this is what happens when the amygdala gets stimulated because we've experienced change and our brain's in survival mode. Discomfort. All of a sudden, we feel like we're selling everybody. And we get really uncomfortable with that. And the conversation about scaling a business, well, now we start to second guess who we are. Like, gosh, I just want to help people, man. Like I'd love to make $60,000 a month, but like I'm uncomfortable thinking about that. And then cold contacting. I don't believe in cold contacting. That's not the point. But so many business coaches teach it. And how many DMs do you get a day? I get 50 from people I don't know who've done no homework on me whatsoever. And just, hey, Brian, love your Facebook profile. Want me to show you how to, engineer your profile better so you can get more leads, stuff like that. We start being uncomfortable thinking either we're being told to do that by a business coach or that we need to. And this is the thing for me, as a business mentor, as somebody who spent 30 years doing this, I learned a long time ago that the vague, terminology, just take action, is really weak. It really is, because you're not taking action. And you're not. So should I be like every other business mentor I know and just scream you to take action and find ways to help you take action better? Or can I help you understand why you're not taking action? Isn't that a better use of my energy and your time watching this? And that draws us right back to the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. When we are in survival mode, which change puts us in, we stimulate the amygdala, we suppress the prefrontal cortex. We start to experience things like loss, distrust, and discomfort, like I just expressed. So the answer is not a new tactic. It's not a new strategy. It's not a new game plan. It's learning how to turn the prefrontal cortex back on and turn the amygdala down, because the prefrontal cortex is responsible for rationality and logic. The prefrontal cortex helps you follow a process. The prefrontal cortex is how you solve problems. If the amygdala is on, we're just emotionally irrational. And we can't be stimulated in both the prefrontal cortex and amygdala at the same time, at least not to the same degree. So the game is not new tactics and strategies like every other business mentor wants to give you. The game is learning how to use your time, energy most productively, and how to turn the prefrontal cortex back on so we can do that. How do we suppress the amygdala and amplify the prefrontal cortex? And this is science. This is neuroscience made practical. This is what I teach the coaching entrepreneurs in my partners program. Yes, we have all kinds of tactics, strategies, growing your business. But if you're not at your best, your business can't be at its best. And I hope I've made that clear, because it sounds great to get 700 new leads tomorrow or try to make $30,000 next month. But your brain interprets that as a change. And then it stimulates itself into survival mode, which means it amplifies the amygdala, which means you start to experience loss, distrust, discomfort, and everything falls apart. You stop taking action. And you think of yourself as a failure. And every business coaching group you're in, you just get fed more tactics. But that's not the problem. The problem is your amygdala is not allowing you to rationally take action on the things that matter. I hope I've made this so crystal clear for you. So how do we learn to suppress the amygdala and amplify the prefrontal cortex? Well, these are 8 things that are data-driven. Move. And I don't even mean go to the gym and work out. Go for a walk every morning. Go for a walk. Make it just part of your morning routine. Go get 2,000 steps or 3,000 steps, 15, 17-minute walk. Move. It stimulates the prefrontal cortex primarily because it turns down the amygdala. Morning sun in your eyes, right when the sun crests over the horizon. It's a great time of day to get that sun with all the oranges and reds in the sky right in your eyes. It stimulates, it resets the circadian rhythms. It resets the melatonin cycle. It deregulates the nervous system at large, or at least out of the sympathetic part of the nervous system. It really takes us out of amygdala overdrive. Eat whole foods, a little less supplements, a little more whole foods. Hydration. Your brain needs water to function optimally. As a matter of fact, with food and hydration, the back of your brain, the old brain, and the prefrontal cortex at the front of your brain, they're competing for resources nonstop. So if we hydrate and eat whole foods, especially early on in the day, we can make the back of the brain, this ancient part of our brain that is very instinctive, we can make it just relax because it doesn't feel a need to go into survival mode. That allows your prefrontal cortex to turn on better. Prayer and meditation, these are great things that help us get out of amygdala overdrive. Scents, I know it sounds a little ridiculous, but here, I'll just show you. I always have patchouli. I always have patchouli on my desk because it actually calms me down. Same with environment. This is my desk. If I feel overstimulated while I'm working here, I'll go to a coffee shop or I'll go downstairs to my kitchen and sit at the kitchen table. Changing your environment can change everything about your overdrive of amygdala. And sleep. And by the way, this is why I take a nap every single day. It doesn't really matter how many hours I sleep at night. I always take a nap mid-afternoon. Because if you're sleep deprived, it's guaranteed your amygdala is going to go into overdrive at some point. But there's something else I want to share with you. Ask yourself provocative questions. I know it sounds a little odd, but research shows this. When you're in amygdala overdrive and you're not being rational, you're being quite emotionally irrational, forcing your brain to solve problems, i.e. provocative questions, can really stimulate the prefrontal cortex and therefore turn down the amygdala. So let's say you're going through something in your business. These 4 questions have always tested very well in data. Ask yourself what choices you have and just enjoy your journal for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Answer the question. Think through and problem solve. What is the best case scenario? When you're trying to build a coaching business, it's not a goal. I'm asking your prefrontal cortex to participate in your thinking, as opposed to your amygdala, which is being emotionally irrational. Get your prefrontal cortex thinking about the best case scenario for your business and start to write it out. Why is this all going to be okay? I know it sounds a little inane, but it tests very high. People actually really enjoy answering that question. And why am I bigger than this? When you're going through stress and discomfort and distrust and loss, remind yourself why you're bigger than all of this. Sitting in your journal for a few minutes a day and answering provocative questions is an amazing way to turn down your amygdala and turn up your prefrontal cortex. And I have on this slide, it says test, and that's a slide as well, test, meaning there's no one way. There's lots of ways. So take everything I've said here and test them. What works best for you? So to wrap it up, here's what I want to tell you. You're not alone. Coaching professionals, coaching entrepreneurs, like all around the world, are struggling. And in part, it's the immaturity, the naivete of the business coaching gurus who are just throttling tactics and strategies down your throat, because either they don't know or they don't care. because they want to sell what they want to sell, that in reality, understanding how your brain works and how it functions is a requisite part of building a sustainably successful coaching business. Because if you're not just taking action, it's not because you're lazy, and it's not because you don't want it badly enough. It's because your brain's in survival mode and the amygdala is overstimulated and you're being emotionally irrational. And you can't solve problems, be logical when your amygdala is turned up that high. In our partners program, we have 2x, 3x, 10x, and 20x many of our members coaching businesses just by teaching them things like this. They don't need more tactics and strategies. They need to learn how to be more effective, productive, and efficient every single day. And that's what we focus on. 2, 3, 4, 10, 20x businesses just by teaching stuff like this. So I hope something I've said today has helped. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care.